creativity, and taking a path towards visual art instead. So I would definitely recommend to anybody that doesn't know what they want to do to take the thing that ignites that passion inside them and run with it, regardless of what it is, regardless of how silly or how small it seems. I cut things out on a daily basis. That is life, that, and I'm happy. And it makes other people happy, and that's one of the biggest things that has confused me for so long, is that I get to do that. But it's not been easy. I mean, it's not easy, that everybody that runs their own business knows that. It looks on the outside, it looks as if you're having a great time doing the thing that you love, but it takes a lot of work to get there. And you've got to be willing to put the effort in, and you do end up wearing every hat. I love that phrase. It just makes me imagine myself with a tower of hats. That's great. It's difficult, but the rewards pay off if you get to wake up and know that the job that you're going to is going to make you happy. And obviously there's you don't spend every day like Snow White thinking that the day everything's pretty and fantastic. It doesn't happen. But ultimately, even on the rubbish days, I'm still enjoying it, because it's a new challenge, it's a new problem to solve, and it's new experience that you're gonna learn and not do again, hopefully as she crosses her fingers. But you know what I mean, it's experience.
Yeah, definitely. I think you learn as you go, and it's one of those things that I always think it's unfortunate that there aren't more systems in place to encourage young people to get creative or to start their own business. Certainly when I was leaving school, it was very much you work through school to get your marks high enough so that you get into the university that you want. And there wasn't a lot of push for anybody to start their own business. Not that I would have thought that's what I was going to do back then anyways. Yeah. But I was really into like theatre and film and photography. I was quite into writing as well. So I knew I was going to do something in that realm, but there wasn't a lot to help you find a focus for your creativity, if that makes sense. So it was kind of like,
I get you.
If you wanted to go into a trade, there was a kind of clear career path for that. You would go to this college and do these studies and do that. And if you wanted to do something more academic, or like your typical like engineers, lawyers, doctors, these jobs that kind of have, again, a very clear career path, there was that. But if you kind of had these creative skills and you knew you wanted to do something creative, but you weren't quite sure what, you were sort of just thrown in the middle to figure it out. And I would like to...
I mean, I loved the art department at school. One teacher in particular was extremely supportive. She saw in me what I didn't believe was there in myself. But I feel that at secondary, the direction for if you're arty is get to art schools at school, and I didn't get towards art school, and then that's when you think, oh well, that's that then, I won't be doing anything creative with my life because I didn't get into art school. As if that's the only way that you can go. But from that, I just looked up, tried to find my own path, and found a portfolio course. Two actually. I did one at the art school, an evening class, which was great, and one at college during the day, which built up this folio that I didn't have in order to keep going and find the area that I wanted to focus on, and it led me here. So that there isn't just one path. You don't need to go to art school in order to lead a creative life. I don't know whether it would have been quicker. I might have got there a bit faster, but might not have been I don't know, who knows? This is what happened. So I try not really to dwell on that too much, because this is where I am and that's the path I took and this is how I got here. So
Well, and I
yeah.
always say to myself, so my background, like I did a degree and a diploma because it's just the way the programs work. So I could have just done the degree or just done the diploma, but I was already 2 years into a degree anyway. So I did both. The degree was obviously very academic, and the college was a little bit more hands-on, creative. It had a lot of the instructors were either still in the industry or very out of the industry. So that was really good to have both sides of that. I still don't regret spending all those years in school, because so many of the things that I learned, I'm able to apply to running a business now. So I didn't go to business school, but a big part of my communications course was marketing and, you know, learning to set yourself apart. I majored in journalism, so those writing skills have really helped me with like blogging and talking to my community and things like that. So I still don't regret it. And I totally agree with you that you have to look at it as whatever things you did put you on the path to get to where you are. And if you didn't do some of those things, if you didn't take that university course, maybe you never would have realized that actually you want to run your own business. That you just don't know how things would have played out if you would have done things differently. So I think you just have to look at it as this was our path. And maybe if you were offering advice to someone, you would encourage them to just do this from the get-go. But sometimes I think you kind of need to try different things to find your place and really be happy as well.
Yeah, I think it's one of these things that's impossible to say to someone, oh, this happened to me, you better not do that. You know, they're going to find out for themselves, you know. But I know now that it's the determination, and it's the probably having had umpteen people say, oh, you can't do that. It just makes me turn around and go, yes, I can. and that's how I got here, I suppose, as well.
So you brought something up when you were chatting before, and I didn't want to kind of interrupt your train of thought, but you had said you learn certain things, and even if you have a bad day and things don't work out, you learn something from it. And I totally agree. I think the only way that you can learn sort of how to get better at what you do and get better at running a business is by sometimes making a mistake or having something not turn out the way you wanted. So on that note, I like to ask everybody at the end of their episode if there is one thing that you wish that you could have known before you started out in business. So basically, one thing that you learned the hard way, what would that be? I know that's a tough one, and I know for me, like I could probably list off at least 10 of them, and new ones come up all the time. So you don't have to. It doesn't have to be the worst one or the hardest lesson, but just what is something that you kind of had to learn, and it took a while for you to process or to figure out, that would have really helped you had you known it before you started.
Definitely better time management. From the very start would have helped me, because I let orders come in and then they would just stay in my head, and then I would think, okay, I've got that to do and I've got that to do, and then I go, oh, I've got lots of things to do, how am I going to get this done in the same day? And things just weren't in any kind of organised fashion, which doesn't work for my head at all. But I had let everything get too busy too quickly. So probably having had some sort of order system at the very start would have been really helpful. I didn't really know what way it was going to go, so it all happened organically, and I learned the mistakes on the job, so to speak. And that seems to be how I make all the mistakes. And keep receipts for absolutely everything as well. So I'm very bad at adding on the odd, sweets, and then I don't want to keep that receipt, because then I have to admit that I've also bought crisps and chocolate at the same time as supplies.
Oh, I hear you. And I think for most people, like they'll, laugh and say, oh, I wish I would have known this from the beginning. I wish I would have had like an organized system from the start.
Yeah.
But as much as like in an ideal world, sure, everything would just be perfect from the beginning, but actually you've figured out a system that works for you because you've learned what doesn't work. So I think it's not such a bad thing to learn as you go and to make those mistakes.
As much as that would be something that would have helped, I know that it wouldn't have happened. It wouldn't have been possible. In hindsight, it would have been great if I was born with the ability to run a business, but nobody is. So, and especially if you're not really, you don't have 24/7 guidance on what to do. You are figuring it out, and it's trial and error. And I might be wrong, but I actually quite like that way of learning. I like that way. I've maybe bought the wrong thing, spent too much on a product, and then found it somewhere else. But then I've just chalked that up to experience, and then you learn, don't you? So,
I've done that as well. I've done it with, I went out and bought myself quite an expensive zoom lens when I was really like focusing on weddings, and I can't even remember what I paid for that thing. It was maybe £1,700. And I thought, I need to have a zoom lens because all these other photographers who I know, they all use this zoom lens and it's versatile and I need to have it. It's going to up my game. And in fairness, it gave me some confidence because without getting too boring and technical, basically I could shoot quite wide or quite close up and not have to move. But what I realized about a year or so into owning that lens is that actually I like to be closer to people. I like to capture real moments. I like it to feel intimate. I don't want to be miles away. And actually I'm much better set up with two cameras with two different lenses than, just having this one really expensive one. So I totally agree. You can learn these things the hard way and go, I spent a ton of money on that. But in the end, you learn, and I learned something about my style and the way that I like to work. So that's valuable too.
Yeah, absolutely. I know at one point I thought, okay, I need to have this certain machine, and then didn't switch over to that machine, and now I still use the same one that I've used from day one because it's my little faithful, trusty machine as I give it a little living tap and hope that it keeps going.
No, that's great. I think it's really interesting to hear these things too, because a lot of us can, even if we didn't have exactly the same experience, we can all sort of relate to these. I think we all kind of learn similar lessons as we go, but the more that I speak to people, the more everyone's kind of in agreement that you need to make mistakes, like you said before. You need to learn these things, and it does keep it interesting. If you just went into a job that was so set out for you that you just knew you were doing this and this every day and that was never going to change, that's my worst nightmare. Like, that is my idea of hell.
I have the odd day where I think, okay, that would be great, but then I always think, you think the grass is greener on the other side, but it maybe isn't. So that's why I just enjoy what I've got, what I'm doing. I'm grateful for it every single day, and
totally agree.
I like what I know, and I like what I do. So I stopped I stopped beating myself up about the fact that I wasn't working with other people or in a team, which I miss. I miss working in a team, but I'm also really happy doing this because my team I consider to be the other small business owners that I know, which is nice.
Same. I think I struggled with that as well, because when I was going through university, I worked in a pub and I worked my way up there. I kind of worked my way into management and then running some events and stuff there. And I sort of kept my hand in that right up until my move to Scotland, because I loved it. I loved, like you're saying, being part of a team and working alongside other people, and being in a job like hospitality, you meet new people all the time. I made tons of business contacts and got a lot of work out of that as well. And I do miss that sometimes. I have days where I'm just sitting editing by myself at a desk for 8 or 10 hours straight, and having a community of small business owners and that I can contact and not feel like I'm all alone, even though technically I'm working on my own. We can touch base and set up dates and meet for coffee over Zoom or FaceTime or whatever. That helps make it feel a little bit less alone.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Because I always tell myself that I might think I want to be back in a team or whatever, but ultimately I left that. So, it's remembering that you left for a reason.
Yeah, no, that's so true. So